All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is Meteorologist Grace Thornton here in the KVUE studios. We are talking about a pretty wet week of weather that we're expecting today. We already saw some rain today. Tomorrow we're going to see some rain too, Thursday and Friday. It doesn't look like we're really going to dry out until the weekend starts to enter the forecast. And even then, this weekend we have a couple of isolated thunderstorm chances as well. So let's get into this forecast. I first want to start off with what's going on in the atmosphere today. So I'll pull this up for you. We've got a big low pressure system sitting over kind of the Great Lakes, even up toward that Ontario and Toronto area, up towards Quebec as well. That low pressure system bringing a cold front all the way from the East Coast and down through Atlanta. But you can see that it turns into what we call a stationary front. Stationary front, just means a front that's not really moving along very fast, but it does, the atmosphere at least does utilize this front in order to carry energy across it, which is exactly what's going on here in Texas today. We've got some showers and storms still moving their way east. Yes, the ones that we dealt with earlier today here in the Austin area. And honestly, most of the hill country saw this rain this morning, but a lot of us here in central Austin didn't see too much. It was mostly up towards kind of those north and western areas, and then shifted off to the east as we kind of headed into the midday hour here. So this is what we're dealing with here in Texas right now. Now we will have some additional unsettled weather out towards West Texas that is going to creep its way in here as we shift into the next several hours. So while you're watching that large batch of rain up towards the Dallas area, that is going to continue to shift its way to the east. Non-severe thunderstorms moving along there up towards the Shreveport area as we kind of shift into the next few minutes here. And then you'll notice on the back half of the area, so out towards El Paso, the Big Bend region, out towards Midland and Odessa, Del Rio, they're starting to see their first instances of rain today, and some storms, of course, forming there too. So we're going to be watching West Texas as we shift overnight tonight, because the storms that start to organize out there are going to shift their way across the Austin area, and they're going to utilize that stationary that we were just talking about in order to move on through. So as for right now, here's a look at the Austin area. We're not seeing too much in our region right now. You can see most of the rain from earlier on today has now made its way up towards the north and east. We just showed you that larger complex of storms that's moving out towards East Texas and over towards the Shreveport area in Louisiana. But for now, we're left with honestly pretty nice conditions, and it is going to remain that way for the bulk of the afternoon and the early evening hours. But later on this evening, we are going to have to start to watch the radar again for our next round of rain and thunderstorms. But for the moment, we're just seeing a little bit of shower activity, maybe some moderate rain between Giddings and Bastrop. But at the moment, that's really all that we're seeing as far as activity on the map. Let's take a look outside. It is shaping up to be a pretty nice day out there. I do want to take a moment just to really look at the skyline here. You can see the skyline of the city, but on the horizon there, if we look up just a touch, that sort of a denser area of clouds right there, you can see that some of these areas have, I don't know, we'll call it jellyfish tentacles. That's kind of what we compare it to for, in meteorology. But really, this is what we call virga. So what you see right there is those jellyfish tentacles. That is actually shafts of rainfall. Now they're trying to fall, but they're not really making their way to the ground. They're evaporating before they get all the way there. And that's what we call virga here, for meteorology. So that's a fun little note that you can see on the skyline there. You might be able to see it as you're driving around town as well. Again, sometimes this happens in isolated clouds, and then they really look like jellyfish tentacles, and even the top of the jellyfish too, the rest of the cloud. But that's what we're seeing right now. Again, we just looked at the radar. There's really not too much going on across central Texas right now. We've still got some cloud cover left over from what we were dealing with earlier, but we also have some breaks of blue sky happening, which is going to be the name of the game for the rest of the afternoon. We're going to clear out just a little bit, and then we're going to be watching the potential for showers and storms as we kind of head overnight tonight more so. So most of your afternoon will feature calm, nice conditions. Temperatures won't be too bad. I'm thinking upper 80s, lower 90s for the area. Now let's take a look back at what we saw earlier this morning. So we did get a pretty good wash of rainfall. That stubborn Austin rain dome that we like to talk about, that is certainly rearing its head today. Travis County almost getting zero rain this morning, but the rain certainly favored Burnett, Llano, Mason County. We also had some pretty scat activity as some of those showers and storms moved off across the coastal plains as well. So we did get some good rains this morning, and I do think as we head into the rest of this week, sort of the middle edges of that map are going to fill in as we cover the next, 1 to 2 to 3 to even the next like 4 or 5 days. We're expecting multiple rounds of this rainfall. So I do think this sort of vacant patch is going to fill itself in eventually, and that may happen as we kind of head into the day tomorrow. So I'll check on our severe risks. So of course, when we talk about rain here in central Texas, most of the time we're talking about thunderstorms, and a lot of the time those thunderstorms can be severe. Now the interesting part of this forecast is going to be the lessened severe threat. We've got a marginal risk all across central Texas today that spreads from San Angelo all the way to Austin, all the way to Houston, all the way down to San Antonio as well. And you can see our friends out there in West Texas who are starting to see some storms form right now. They are under a slight risk for severe weather. So a little bit of an elevated risk out towards West Texas today. But here at home, we're in that lowest level 1 marginal risk. But we switch over to our flood outlook for today. We are in a slight risk for that. And the flood outlook is actually ranges from 1 to 4 instead of 1 to 5. I don't exactly know why they do that, but I think it can make things a little bit more confusing. But so a level 2 risk, out of 4 is just a little bit greater than a level 2 risk even out of 5. So for the Austin area, the coastal plains, you can see most of us in the coastal plains, just a little bit of a marginal risk inching into those eastern areas of Fayette County there. Most of us are under the slight risk for today. So we do need to watch out for the potential of localized flooding, even the potential of flash flooding. Now that's just Tuesday's flood outlook. You can see Wednesday and Thursday and likely Friday are also going to be under that slight risk for flooding. So it's possible we see some localized flooding. It's possible that we see some flash flooding, kind of depending on when and where those storms form or, how strong they are. Again, we still have that low risk for severity. So heavy downpours could be moving through the area at times this weekend, be cause for flash flooding, especially if our rivers and streams are already swelled from the 1 to 3 inches that we're expected to get this week. So we're expecting widespread 1 to 3 inches and isolated totals 3 to 6 inches. So it's going to be a pretty wet week here. I was talking a little bit on air yesterday. I do not think that we have seen widespread. Of course, we did get some good rains at the end of May there, but I'm not sure we totally made it to that 3. I think we made it to the 3-inch mark in a couple places, out of the spread of a work week. I think we did make it to 3 inches for a couple of places, but I don't think we made it to like 4 or 6 inches. I don't think we've seen this type of rainfall, honestly, since maybe last July. We had a couple of tropical systems their way through early on in the hurricane season, and we did get some favorable rainfall, and I think that was probably the last time really widespread rainfall like this over the span of 1 to 5 days. So this is significant. We need this rain, of course. We're in the middle of an expansive drought. I mean, you can already tell from me saying that the last time this happened was last July. I mean, it's almost been a full year since we've gotten rainfall like this. So I just think this is the rain that we need. This is the rain we've been praying for. Of course, we want to take heed of that, and especially, you know, all the localized impacts and threats that we could see with that. We just want to let you guys know and let you guys, you know, make your decisions, stay safe. So, okay. My goodness, I want to touch again on our severe risks for the next couple of days. So I showed you that we do have an elevated flood risk for the next couple of days, but today, tomorrow, and Thursday, our severe risk is looking much lower. So that marginal risk level 1 out of 5. So we're not thinking that this is going to be a big week for, you know, very high winds or very large hail. Now, we may see some high winds, we may see some hail. Mostly what we're going to be dealing with is the potential for flooding out there as heavy rains are going to be moving through. This is a multi-day event. Again, this starts today, ends more or less on Friday, but we'll still have some isolated rains through the weekend as well. So periods of heavy rain and storms, increased flood risks, that's going to be area-wide all across central Texas the next couple of days. So what we really want to hone in on is if you have low water crossings in your neighborhood, flood prone areas in your neighborhood, just make sure that you are taking the steps to check in on things, you know, every now and again. Doesn't have to be at all points of the day, of course, because not even everyone saw rainfall this morning, and you may not even see rainfall tomorrow. It's going to be pretty hit or miss as we kind of shift through the next couple of days. I do think, though, in a span of 5 days, you're going to see rainfall at some point. It just may not be when you're awake. A lot of this is happening overnight. It may not hit exactly your neighborhood, but the neighborhood next to yours. So again, this is something we're just kind of, you know, tracking things minute to minute, hour to hour, seeing how things play out this week, because with this many rounds of rainfall, it's honestly very hard to forecast. So just want to make you guys aware, just be checking in on things like those low water crossings as well as flood prone areas as we shift through the rest of the week. Again, turn around, don't drown. If you come across any flooded roadways, please do not cross them. Please just turn around and find another way, because you know, flooding be, of course, a reason people, you know, lose their lives in situations like this, because it's not taken as seriously as other things like extreme heat or even extreme weather here, severe weather. So for today's forecast, we are still expecting the potential for some spotty storms. I know we're very dry right now, but the possibility is still out there. There's going to be clouds around. There's going to be sunshine around, especially for, you know, right now until 4 or 5 p.m. We are going to see mainly clouds and sun. So I do think get up to that 90, 91 degree mark. And now let's head into the forecast for the next couple of hours here. So 9 p.m. again. This afternoon, early evening hours, not going to see much. We'll probably get up to that 90 degree mark for many of us, or the upper 80s. By the time we hit to 9 p.m. tonight, we'll have spotty chances for thunderstorms, very similar to what we were dealing with the late evening hours, the evening hours of yesterday. We had a couple of storms pop up in Bastrop County, over towards Lockhart, and I believe Lee and Fayette County as well. They saw some spot storms yesterday. And then we move overnight tonight. Here's 1 a.m. From 1 a.m. tomorrow to about 5 a.m. tomorrow, we are going to be seeing another instance where storms are moving in strong to potentially severe storms coming in out of the hill country and moving across the I-35 corridor. And as they do so, they are going to weaken a bit. So you can see by 3 a.m. as this is shifting closer to those I-35 areas, Williamson County, Travis County, as well as Hayes County, it's going to start to weaken. I do think that that northern edge of our viewing area, it tends to, we'll say this, it tends to keep the intensity of storms a little bit better than areas like Laga Vista or down towards Blanco or Johnson City. Those areas, storms that come through that area tend to weaken a bit faster, but those storms move from Burnett over to Georgetown usually can hold their intensity a little bit longer. So if you live in Williamson County, Burnett County, out towards Llano and Mason, I do think you guys are expecting another round of noisy thunderstorms moving through the area again tomorrow morning. But by 6 a.m., this is the good news. Most of this is going to be overnight. Again, a low level severe risk. We're mostly just looking at the potential for flooding by 6 a.m. and even into those commuter hours. It looks like most of us will be seeing dry conditions. This is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. A couple of areas, isolated storms possible. You know, we're never at completely zero for rainfall chances this week. I will say that, you know, we pop up to like 60% chances at certain times, and then we're never at zero as we kind of head into you know, even those drier spots of the forecast. So then we head to 4 p.m. Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, I do think is going to be very similar to this afternoon. So by the time we hit midday, we get into 2, 3 p.m. I do think we're going to see majority dry conditions for tomorrow. And then we hit those later afternoon hours, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and we start to see the map look like this, where isolated kind of those popcorn storms start to pop up across the area. And you can see anywhere from the country over towards Milam County and Fayette County, we've got chances for isolated storm coverage pretty much anywhere in our viewing area. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out as we shift through our Wednesday. And then we get a little bit of a sneak peek of Thursday. So this is going to be midnight, Wednesday into Thursday. Still got chances for those storms, mostly on the north edge of our region. Now, is the radar going to look exactly like this over the next 48 hours, 36 hours? No, I don't think so. I do think what we're seeing for, you know, early Thursday morning, like what's behind me, I do think that's going to change a little bit as into tomorrow and even late into today. So we'll be waiting for, I believe around 2 or 3 p.m. is when our next extended high resolution model comes out, and we'll be able to see another update of what we're going to be expecting over the next 36 to 48 hours, and that should give us, you know, just a better idea, more confidence of what's going to happen. So I do want to touch on this really quick, our rain coverage maps for the next couple of days. Again, today we did see some widespread rainfall, especially in the hill country areas this morning. Tomorrow, we've got those chances once again. It does look like it may be a little bit more widespread, and I do think it is going to favor our hill country areas once again. Now, Thursday, like you just saw on the map, our I-35 corridor as well as the hill country is probably going to be experiencing some sort of rain once again. As to exactly when that's moving through, I will say I don't have great confidence in that. I believe it's going to be kind of another early morning overnight situation as we head into Thursday. But, you know, that is just a bit too far out. I know that's interesting that weather forecasts are anywhere from like 5 to 7 out. I don't trust that at all, and I never have. And I was taught in school to never believe a forecast 5 to 7 days out. What I will say is Wednesday, Thursday, you can trust what you're looking at there. As to Friday and Saturday, I think those maps are going to change up a little bit as we kind of shift into the next, further into the work week here. What I am going to say is, you know, we got, you know, anywhere from probably a half inch to maybe an inch of rain in the hill country earlier this morning. So if we're looking at our 7-day rainfall totals, they don't look as drastic as what they looked like yesterday, because this isn't incorporating yesterday's rainfall. This is incorporating the next 7 days of rainfall. So these numbers have dropped a little bit compared to what they were at yesterday, because they're not, of course, including this morning's rainfall. So we're looking at 2 to 3 to up to 5 we can see on the European model over there, and 4 for the GFS model there, and 5. We see 5 down towards San Marcos actually. So widespread 1 to 3 inches across our area, and then isolated totals. We're still thinking 4 inches to maybe even up to 6 inches in some places who, you know, see most of this rainfall that we're expecting this week. So here's our 7-day forecast for us today, the rest of the day. Until we hit about 8-9 p.m. tonight, we may not see another chance for storms other than that for our Tuesday. It's going to be overnight tonight into early Wednesday morning that the bulk of that next round of rain comes through. That should be drying out as we head into commuter hours Wednesday morning. I think after about 6 a.m. we should be pretty dry as we shift towards midday. And then Wednesday afternoon, you see that 40% chance of scattered thunderstorms there. I do think Wednesday afternoon, 4-5 p.m., we start to see some spotty, isolated activity kind of work its way back into the atmosphere. And then we have another setup on Thursday morning, coming in at midnight. We'll see a good wash of rain come through. And then for the rest of Thursday, we'll just kind of have to track exactly where that rain's headed, how fast or slow it's moving. And also for Friday, it looks like we've got about a 50% chance of rain there. Again, past, into Friday and Saturday, the confidence in the forecast starts to get a little bit, lesser. So I will say I got good confidence that we're going to see these wash throughs, late tonight into early tomorrow morning, late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. But as for Friday, jury's still a little bit out on that. I do think we'll certainly see maybe some rain in the morning, but I'm just not so sure the afternoon because we are going to start to see a bit of a change in the weather pattern here. Things are going to get much nicer, much quieter. All right, so the time is 1:20 now. I'm just going to go back through my forecast really quickly just to make sure that if you joined us a little bit later in our streaming show that you have all the information that you need to head through work week. So we're going over this stationary front that we have stationed over Central Texas. That is going to be there for a majority of the work week. It's going to take a little bit for that to move out of our area, and it's going to take a little bit for us to get back to settled conditions. We've got a lot of very unsettled energy in our atmosphere, and that's what brought some of that rain this morning. You can see that shifting off towards the north and east areas of Texas, and you can see that the Austin area is actually quite dry for the moment. We are going to see pretty dry conditions for the next several hours. It won't be until likely 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. tonight that we start to see some isolated activity sort of bump back up in our southern areas. But of course, even like 7 p.m., we could see a little isolated something on the map. So as we head further into tonight, we could see the resurgence of some isolated scattered activity, but for the majority of this afternoon, this is what we're going to be looking at outside. We've got break sunshine, we've got some high clouds around, we even have still some low clouds around, but most of that unstable atmosphere, or the atmosphere is at least starting to stabilize just for the afternoon here, and then as we shift into the night tonight, things will get unstable once again. So here's a look at downtown Austin. Some people taking advantage of the Pfluger pedestrian bridge. Looks good there. And here is our accumulations of rainfall from earlier this morning. Let's take an estimated look. Again, these rainfall totals are estimated by the rainfall. This isn't an official total like from the National Weather Service or anything. So up towards the hill country today, Mason, Llano, Burnett County areas in green, you all got about an inch or maybe up to 2 inches of rainfall this morning. Certainly great for our lake system. Eventually that's going to move into the Llano River there, the Sandy Creek area, move into our Highland Lake system, which we love to see. So for today, again, I was talking a little bit about around 8-9 p.m. tonight, we could start to see the resurgence of a couple of isolated showers or thunderstorms. That is going to be covered by our marginal risk for severe weather today. Again, lowest risk of severe weather. We're not expecting major severe weather this week. We're mostly going to be looking at the flood potential, which is in an elevated slight risk for our flood outlook. So that goes for today. That also goes for our day on Wednesday. That also goes for our day on Thursday. And I wouldn't be surprised, they only issue these like 3 days in advance. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I would not be surprised if that we also see this shift into Friday as well, as Friday will be another day for rainfall. And here's our severe weather potential for the next couple of days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here. Again, low risk each and every day. More so what we're going to focus in on is the possibility of flooding. Again, we could see some localized flooding. We're expected to see at least the swelling of lakes and rivers, and of course that could upgrade the flow of our rivers, makes them a little bit faster. So you want to be really, really careful if you're like paddleboarding this week or kayaking, canoeing, or even just fishing. You just can never be too careful. So we just want people to mainly aware of low water crossings in and around where they live, especially flood areas within their neighborhoods, or even if you have even on like a flood prone house. I think that you should certainly be taking precautions for that. Maybe not today because we've already seen a lot of that rainfall, but as I was talking about before, this is going to be like multi-day. So if you had one round this morning that you got through, fine and everything's good, we're gonna have another round tomorrow morning and another round Thursday morning and potentially another round on Friday morning. So just make sure that you're at least weather aware. That's just what I like to tell people. You don't need to be checking in on the weather every 5 minutes or even every hour, but every couple of hours you just take a look at that radar, make sure you know what's going on. And again, if you do come across any flooded roadways in your neighborhood or even commuting home from work or school, just make sure that you are turning around, going the other way, turn around, don't drown. So today's forecast, again, for the next couple of hours until we hit like 7 to 9 p.m. tonight, things are going to be pretty nice across the area. We're going to hit those low 90s. Many of us, we've got spotty storm chances coming back into the forecast, mostly around that 8 p.m. hour. And from then on, or from now until then, we'll probably just have some clouds and sunshine around. So should be a pretty quiet, at least afternoon. Here's what I was talking about. 8, 9 p.m. we start to see the resurgence of isolated activity, mostly to the south, Austin. And then as we head overnight, 1 a.m., we see another large complex of storms move into the hill country. Now, on approach to the hill country, passing through the hill country, this could be strong to maybe even severe. We could see some hail, but again, we're mostly worried about that heavy rainfall as these multiple days of rain move past us. 3 a.m., that moves closer to the I-35 corridor, but also starts to weaken. And even by 6 a.m. Wednesday, continuing into 8, 9 a.m. Wednesday, I do think the commute to work is going to be mostly dry for a lot of us, but it could be pretty cloudy as well. And then we shift further into Wednesday. Again, we see that rebound of moisture. So we've got isolated storm potential Wednesday afternoon, starting around 4 p.m., could go until about like 6 p.m. or something like that. And then things kind of linger around as we shift into Thursday morning. Again, this is just past midnight on Wednesday. So early Thursday morning, I do think we're going to see another round of rain. If not in the hill country, maybe for, our northern areas there. But I do think that is subject to change as we kind of head into the next couple of hours here. Again, another round for Wednesday. Looks pretty widespread to me. You can see on our map there. Tuesday, not everyone saw rain here, especially in downtown Austin. Many of us didn't. But Thursday, we're also expecting that round of rain too. And then Friday as well. And then Saturday, we also have some chances for isolated storms or some scattered showers on the map as well. But our chance for rain on Saturday is like a 30% chance. So it's going to be pretty isolated. All right, here's our 7-day rainfall totals, of course, not adding in what we already saw for this morning, which again, up towards the hill country, we did get like 1 to 2 inches in some of those areas. So we'll add on another 2 to 5 inches, up to 5. 5 or 6 inches of rainfall when this is all said and done, I think is going to be the highest totals that we see, maybe even up to 7 in some really lucky spaces. But a general widespread 1 to 3 is what we're expecting this week. And then isolated areas will get about 3 to 6. Here's that 7-day forecast for us. Again, we got a 60% chance that you're going to see some rain move in overnight tonight. 40% chance that you see isolated to scattered thunderstorms pop up again for your Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, another wash of rainfall. Friday, another wash of rainfall. Saturday, Sunday, Monday into next week, things start to dry out a little, which is going to be great for those of you you who love the sunshine here in Austin, Texas. The other great thing about this rainfall this week that we kind of forgot to mention here on this stream is we are going to dip those temperatures down a good bit for our Wednesday and Thursday and even into Friday. So enjoy the kind of spring-like feel to the atmosphere. Again, low chances for severe weather. We're mainly just going to be tracking the potential for flooding across our area. So even if you do run into something in your neighborhood or you see some sort of low water crossing that is you think maybe inhibiting traffic in your neighborhood or something like that, us here at KVUE, that's what we do. We would love to take those pictures or get a report from you at any time throughout this next week and make sure that we are able to also communicate that to the public because yeah, more the news. That's exactly what we do, and we would just love to see that and you know, get some people on the ground. It's always really good, especially when you're covering weather, to have ground reports. If you can, you know, with the National Weather Service, you give them a storm report. We'll see that storm report here. That's all public information. So always a good thing to note. All right, that is my last forecast update until I am on our 4 o'clock show starting at 4 p.m. It's an hour-long show, so I'll have some weather updates throughout that time. And of course, Chief Meteorologist Hunter Williams will be here for the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news too. And he'll have some good updates for you too. So that's my spiel. Again, have a wonderful afternoon for the stretch of dryness that happens this afternoon, and be anticipating that next round of rainfall as you head to bed tonight. Make sure you got a way to get alerts and check around your house. Make sure everything's good to go for another night of rain.